Hi, my name is Emily. I never thought I'd be telling you this story, but here I am, sharing the most painful chapter of my life with you. You see, life has a funny way of throwing us into situations that we never saw coming, and for me, it all started with a simple moment of kindness that turned into the most complicated love story of my life. I still remember the first time I met Daniel. It was one of those rainy days where the clouds seemed to weigh heavy on the city, and I had just stepped out of the office, trying to escape the stress of the day. I had my umbrella, but it was one of those old ones that flipped at the slightest gust of wind. As I struggled with it, I heard a voice behind me, and when I turned, there he was, standing under a large sturdy umbrella, looking at me with a smile that felt like the answer to all my unspoken prayers. "Looks like the weather's against us today," he said, his voice warm and inviting. I laughed, shaking my head. Or maybe it's just testing our patience. And that was it. A simple, chance encounter. We talked as we walked together to the subway, sharing stories about our day. Something about him felt different. Something about him felt safe. And before I knew it, Daniel became more than just a stranger to me. He became the person I thought I'd spend forever with. As I look back now, it's hard to remember when exactly things started to go wrong. For the longest time, everything with Daniel felt perfect. We had our routine. The Sunday mornings spent in bed with coffee. The quiet dinners where we'd talk about everything and nothing. The plans we made for a future that seemed so certain. It was the kind of love you dream about. We even talked about marriage, about kids, about growing old together. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the life I've always wanted. But somewhere along the way, something started to change. It was subtle at first. The way Daniel would be a little distracted during our conversations. The way his kisses, once full of passion, became quick, almost obligatory. There were nights when he would come home late, his face tired, but he'd always tell me, "Just work, Em. It's nothing." I trusted him. I had to. After all, Daniel was my forever. But as the weeks passed, I began to notice things that didn't add up. His phone was always by his side, and when I glanced over, he'd quickly hide it. He'd go out with friends and come home smelling of perfume that wasn't mine. I tried to tell myself that it was nothing, that I was just overthinking. But deep down, I felt the cold fingers of doubt creeping into my heart. It wasn't until the night I found the message that I couldn't ignore it anymore. The words on the screen were a cruel reminder that the man I loved had already moved on. He just hadn't found the courage to tell me. I can still hear the sound of my heart breaking that night. I had gone to his office to surprise him, to bring him his favorite lunch. It wasn't like me to do something so impulsive, but something in my gut told me that I needed to see him, to remind him that we were a team. When I walked into his office, my eyes immediately landed on him, sitting on the couch with another woman. They were laughing, too close, their hands touching in a way that made my blood run cold. My breath caught in my throat, my body frozen as I watched the scene unfold. The woman's laugh was soft, too soft, and her hand rested on his knee. My knee. The one I thought I had a right to. The one he had promised was always just for me. I didn't know what to do. My legs trembled beneath me, and I stood there, paralyzed by the truth that I had been too blind to see. Daniel looked up, his face falling when he saw me standing in the doorway. His smile, the one that used to light up my world, disappeared in an instant. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, staring at the life I thought I knew, falling apart before my very eyes. And then he spoke the words that broke me. Emily, she's someone I've been seeing for a while now. His voice was barely a whisper, but it echoed in my mind over and over. The woman he had been spending time with was not just a friend, not just a colleague. She was someone he had been choosing over me. It's strange, isn't it? How your whole world can come crashing down in a matter of seconds. One moment, you're standing in a room with the person you love, and the next, you're alone, drowning in a sea of confusion and betrayal. I left his office that day, feeling like I was walking through life as if I weren't part of it. I didn't know what to think, what to feel. How could Daniel do this to me? The next few days were a blur. I stayed home, avoiding his calls, not sure if I was ready to hear him explain himself. I wasn't ready to hear more lies, more excuses. I just wanted him to hurt the way I did. But the truth was, I had already hurt more than I could ever imagine. The nights were the hardest, those silent moments when I couldn't escape the crushing weight of betrayal. I cried myself to sleep, my heart aching in a way I never thought was possible. When I finally gathered the courage to speak to him, the words came out like venom. How could you do this to me? How could you betray everything we built? His response was a mixture of guilt and regret, but no apology, no real understanding of the damage he had done. And that was when I realized he wasn't the man I thought he was. It took a long time to get to this point, to a place where I could stand on my own and realize that I deserve more than what Daniel was giving me. After all the sleepless nights, after all the pain, I began to see the light again. Slowly, I started to rebuild myself, piece by piece, and each day without him was a step toward healing. It wasn't easy. I had moments where I missed him terribly, where I wanted to go back to the way things were. But I reminded myself that I am worthy of respect, loyalty, and love. It's funny, you know. You think you can't live without someone, that the pain will crush you, but then you find out that the heart is more resilient than you ever gave it credit for. I began to rediscover the things that made me happy, the small joys that I had forgotten along the way. I focused on my friends, my family, my own dreams. Slowly but surely, I realized that the strength I needed to heal was already within me. The pain didn't define me. Eventually, I left him. It wasn't easy. Nothing about it was easy. But every day since then, I've learned to reclaim my own happiness. It's been a long road, but with each passing day, I've felt stronger, more confident in my ability to stand alone and build a future that's just for me. I can't say that I'm completely healed, but I'm learning. I'm learning that sometimes letting go is the only way to move forward. I'm learning that I am enough, even if Daniel couldn't see that. And that, for the first time in a long time, I am free. Thank you so much for watching this video and joining me on this emotional journey. It means the world to me to be able to share my story with all of you, and I hope it resonates with anyone who's been through something similar. If you found the strength in this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, Storywise English. Here, we don't just tell stories. We build connections, inspire one another, and help each other grow. To all of you learning English, remember, your journey is just as important as this story. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a victory. Keep learning, keep growing, and don't let anything or anyone hold you back. Thank you for being a part of this amazing community. You are stronger than you think.